All right, welcome everyone. Call the special meeting for Economic Development Authority to order on here Tuesday, June 25th, 2024.
It's July 9th, by the way.
Yeah,
My mistake.
And I should know it's July. Where'd the summer go already?
First test failed.
It won't be my last.
We're going
one
back
either.
in time, okay? Time machine.
Yeah. So who's going to call roll?
That's my job.
Okay.
I am the surrogate Brenda today.
Yes.
So, Grinde,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Hecht. Here. Helms,
Here.
Horken, Larson, Stai.
Yes.
We have a quorum,
We
sir.
have a quorum, sir. Item number 2, unfinished business. Nothing
No, the only thing we can do...
would be the update on the directors.
Yes, it's the director. We can only,
Yep.
on a special meeting, we can only do the business that's listed.
So let's talk
That
about
was
update on
unfinished.
director's interview, use of recruiter. Open for discussion, please.
Can we turn it over to Mr. Hutton so he can update everybody?
I would love to see Mr. Hutton.
And
speak.
in front of you, each of you, you have an updated information that I was given this morning. Okay?
Okay.
All right, thank
And I
you, Mr.
suggest-
President.
Will you remember to turn on the microphones when you talk? Otherwise, these folks
Yeah.
who are online with us won't hear us.
Nate.
Exactly. Yeah, so as Paul said, make sure your mics are on. I see we have had Mr. Alex Metker and Miss Allie Watson join us. They are both representatives from the Next Move Group. That's one of the firms that we received a proposal for search process for our open position. I've also invited Liza Dunbauer from David John and Associates to join us. I would expect she'll be able to join us momentarily. I'll run through, maybe Alex and Allie, I'll run through just kind of the update for the group, and then I'll open it to if there's any questions of the group for you and your proposal. So we essentially have 3 proposals to review or to consider today. The first proposal being the proposal from the Next Move Group that we saw at our meeting a couple of weeks ago. That's a full executive search process. The price to conduct that, if paid up front in full, is $19,291. Along with that, we talked about at the last meeting, is that does, if the candidate that is selected doesn't work out or leaves for other employment within the first year, it includes a 100% guarantee that they'd reconduct the search for us. The other 2 proposals are both from David Drown Associates. The one we saw at the meeting a few weeks back is a $12,000 proposal. That's for recruitment only. They'd handle the advertising and recruitment, and once they had a list of qualified candidates, they would essentially hand those over to our city human resources and this board to conduct the interview process and the background process ourselves.
Would that have to go through civil service as well, because we're using Recruiter to obtain applicants?
We're not required to use civil service for any of this process, because the executive director position of the EDA
already been established.
is not a civil service position. When we advertise the position locally, I'll call it, through our own HR, as a matter of consistency of process, we talked about using civil service for that initial interview round and initial vetting process. That's still an option that's available to us if we wanted to go that route, but we're not required to. Other positions in the city that are civil service positions were required to have that first round interview be with that commission. That is not the case for this job. And then the last proposal that we received, that's the one that just came in from follow-up of our last meeting, was the question to David Drown Associates if they had the time and capability to conduct a full search. They do. They provided a proposal for that. Their proposed fee is $24,000 to conduct that work, and they would offer a full 2-year guarantee on the position with that price. Those are the 3 professional search proposals we've received. The 4th option, which I think I'll touch on again, would be to continue our search at a more local level using our Human Resources Department. Since our meeting 2 weeks ago, we've had a few people reach out and inquire about the opportunity, the job opening, to see how we plan to move forward and if there was an opportunity to apply. So just in an effort to try to gain and gather that input, we did repost the job on our website last week, Tuesday. We have had one more applicant come in that time, and there are 1 or 2 others that have inquired that may be interested in applying, but we haven't seen applications yet. So I would like to offer that as really there's 4 options at our disposal here. We have the local search, and we have the 3 proposals for professional services that could be considered. So with that, unless there's a specific question I can answer, I think the 3 that we have with us now are all with the Next Move group. Chad Chancellor joined us. He's also with the Next Move group.
Should we let them know timetable on what we're looking at?
Sure.
So we're looking at my last day in the office being October 25th. We're looking at probably a 2-week overlap, so that would mean if we want a person on board, probably October 14th, that Monday. If there's only a 1-week overlap, there is, but the ideal would be probably 2 weeks to turn things over during that 2-week period. So that's the timetable that we're looking at.
Yep. That would be our ideal. And the discussion we've had, Josh and myself and Paul have had, is to set October 25th as sort of a firm retirement date so that we all have something to work towards. And Paul has some solidity. He's been very generous in offering to stick around for a few more months, and we certainly are appreciative of that. But we also don't want to keep Paul sort of on this yo-yo string of not knowing what to expect as he's trying to set plans for retirement and planning to move back home to Illinois. So we've sort of all discussed October 25th would be sort of the drop date, and we certainly hope that we'd be able to have somebody in place so there's some overlap. But if it doesn't work out that way, I think we need to work as a city locally to make sure that we have that transition go as smooth as possible. Yep.
No, and like to add to Reed, comments there, same thing. Thank you, Paul.
Well, it's my pleasure.
It's been actually really enjoyable working with Paul and Reed with this matter.
The doors are only so big. If you keep talking like that, I may not be able to get out the door.
It's very appreciative because it's something not everybody would do.
I agree. I second that.
I mean, you own your own business,
Yes.
Stump.
Yes. I appreciate it.
I don't know that I could do it a different way, but thank you for your
But that's a lost
thoughts.
trait in life.
It's what you lose by getting rid of the old man.
You're going to leave with a bundle of knowledge, and that's appreciative.
So what are, if people are from another city, you're looking at, they would need to move and everything too, right? Mm-hmm. So local is, I like the idea of local as much as possible, because I would say October is what? How many months is that? 3 months?
Well, I thought it was June, so.
Okay, so, yeah, the rest of July. Say you found someone August 1st.
July, August, September, October, okay.
So you would need time to move
full 3 months.
and find, if they're family, for school and placement and everything. So anyhow, I just, I didn't know how quick the search was going to go, but I would say we would need to find someone fairly soon.
Well, maybe that's a question you should pose to the search firm, too. Is that
How
a realistic
quickly,
calendar?
yeah, how realistic is it to get somebody in here and working by the middle of October?
Well, I can chime in that I'm actually flying to North Dakota tonight, so I wish I could meet you all in person. We're doing an economic development strategic plan for Beulah. They've got some coal reuse money up there. We've done a bunch of work in North Dakota, Bismarck, other places. So I will be landing up there about 10 o'clock tonight. But we tell people within 6 weeks you'll know who you want. However, to the board member's point, for them to actually resign their position, for them to get a home, report to the job, it probably takes 3 months. But if we started right now, I think you would know by late August, do you want it, whether it's a local candidate or or someone else. But yes, by the time they quit their job, get a place, it very well may be October. But the way our process works, basically a month from now, we would bring you 2 to 3 minute videos to review of all the applicants that we have found who are interested, and we'll do a total swarm of the local market in addition to the regional and national market. And so not only do we usually look for economic development professionals, we look for people that have worked for the utilities, who work for the Air Force, the Force, governmental affairs, those type of people, both locally, regionally, and across the country. And then we bring you 2 to 3 minute videos to watch. Alex handles that part of the process for us, so you can literally preview 20 people in an hour's time. We give you the resume ahead of time. We kind of have them ranked into what you were looking for. This way you can very quickly review a number of people before you spend real time Zooming with them, before you bring them to town, wasting a whole lot of time. So our whole process tries to give you as many qualified applicants as possible, but also reduces the amount of time you have to put in it on administrative tasks and previewing these people and so forth.
Kind of what we all figured from our last meeting too. We're pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to start right away if you want to get somebody by October, whether you use a firm or not. Because if they are leaving a position, it's very common for people now to have 30-day notices, not just 2 weeks.
Correct.
And it's certainly, I don't know about your housing market, but in many markets we're doing this, it's not easy to find a house anymore.
Slim to none.
So, yeah, that's
We have
exactly
lots.
right. And so sometimes they have to rent it first.
They need to put a camper on
And
it.
I will say to your question about local candidates, probably 80 to 90% of the time we do this, we find people who have some tie to the area. We just, like I say, Judge, we did Cheyenne, Wyoming, Alex, in 2018? It's been a while now. And for instance, when we found him a candidate from New York, but her grandmother was from Cheyenne. So you'll be surprised at the ties you find. One of the questions we ask on the recorded interviews is, why do you want this job? Now, I have actually found that most search committees gravitate to that question, how somebody answers it. And a lot of times they would tell you, I have family there, I used to vacation there. There'll be some time, even if they make their way off to Kansas City or whatever. You'll be surprised at, kind of the ties that we find. So, while we do a nationwide search, we certainly are looking for people who have a reason to want to be there, who will buy into the community and so forth.
I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
First one, Reed, for you, how long do we have this on our website for advertising? Is there any set time, or we just leave it there until we're ready to take it down?
So the way that we listed it last week when we reposted it is we listed it as open until filled. Just that gave us the opportunity to get it out so that people had the opportunity to apply if they wanted. Depending upon the direction the board gives us today, I would certainly encourage and like to see a defined timeline that we would place, whether that's with a search firm or if we decide to do it ourselves internally again. We would want to define a structured timeline for that.
Okay, and then my next question would be for Next Move Group. How long is your quote here that you gave us, how long is that guaranteed for if we decide to try this on our own again?
We usually say 2 to 3 months. We're a small business, so we do a common sense deal, so there's no gotcha time frame in there. Now, I had a town in Alabama call me a year later and wanted us to honor our privacy, and we did, but stuff has gone up, so I don't know how much money we're going to make on that deal. But there is no real fixed time frame on that if you want to do it. As prices go, really the only thing that goes up for us, well, 2 things increase for us. We do the background checks for you. That cost is going up. I just looked the other day. Our cost of background checks have doubled in the last couple of years. And I don't know if that's because there's more time taken to do them or whatnot, but that cost has doubled on us. And then we swarm your market with ads on LinkedIn and other social media. Sometimes those costs go up. But that's kind of the only variable. Our fee to you is, go ahead.
I was talking to Reed.
Our fee is an all-in cost other than paying the candidates to come travel to your town. So all that advertising costs, we bear, but that actually can go up on us if we wait too long.
And to that point with the travel expense, that would be on top, correct?
That's right. Now, you never know, you may find 5 people and 4 of them be from the county, 2 counties over where there's not a whole lot, or you may need to fly someone in. We never know until we start doing the recruiting.
Right. But I just
what
want,
that cost will be.
just so we were all clear that that's on top of that price.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were funds
We
approved?
try to use as much same as we can to cut down on that, obviously, till you find the people that you're most serious about.
If I can just interject, we've had Liza Donnenbauer join the group as well. She is, or the meeting as well. She's the representative from David Drown and Associates. I think if I could suggest just for order of process, because we have a couple of different firms here. Liza, to update you, we've just introduced, we have proposals from David Drown and Associates and from the Next Move group. The other members on the call here are from the Next Move group. I would suggest if there are specific questions to the proposals from the Next Move group, let's offer and ask those in their process and how they'd conduct the search. And then once we feel like we're completed with those questions, then we can move to David Drown and Associates questions if there are any.
And I think it's pretty spelled out, and we've asked some of the pertinent questions.
Yep.
So shall we ask the same questions of Liza?
But do we want to do that? Yeah, we could ask her that. That's fair with everybody on. Basically, the biggest question is how long is your proposal good for?
Well, let's give her the background. Liza, my last day, we're looking at October 25th. In an ideal world, we'd be bringing somebody in October 14th in order to have a couple-week overlap. So the question that we've asked is that a timetable that can occur?
I believe so. I want to make sure I'm not muted. Right, you can hear me?
Yep.
In my proposal, I did lay out a schedule, and so I would have to go back and just trying to think. But as of right now, I have interviews scheduled for November 6th. So in order to accommodate, the backgrounding that we do, it would be awfully tight. I think, so I should probably get some clarification. So in the schedule that I have proposed, this involves, the city council to be involved in the selection of the finalists, approving the profile. Would the city council be involved, or would I be working more with the committee? Because if it's with the committee, then yes, I can move the timeline along a lot quicker. But I've matched the schedule to meet up with the city council schedule.
You want to read?
Yeah, Liza, good question, and thanks for putting this proposal together. This position would be hired under the authority of the EDA board, so the plan would be to use an EDA committee that had at least one city council representative as part of that, but it wouldn't require full city council action to approve the hire.
Okay, wonderful. Then yes, I would be able to make that deadline. I'll just would have to go back in and modify the schedule, and then I can resend it out to you.
So, if I may, what other questions do you have? And remember to direct them to the person or the firm. So, and if you want them both to answer, then we'll just do one followed by the other.
Is it Liza? Is that it? Did she ever answer Josh's question about how long her proposal is good for?
I don't think she was asked that question.
Josh asked it
Yes,
first, and then you.
okay.
Yeah, so Liza, the question is, we've had some discussion before you jumped on about potentially taking another attempt to advertise this internally, locally, without a search firm. If we would do that and then say, get a few more weeks down the road and we don't have success, how long is your proposed price good for? Or how long would you honor it?
Sure. The price we would honor up until the end of the year. The schedule obviously would probably be affected by the delay. But yeah, no, please stand by the price.
Any other questions?
I have a comment. Can you see our screen if I share something, or I don't know if you all have that capability or if you just see us.
Right now, I'm looking at you, the room.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to share my screen. Let's see. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
If you end up going the local route and not use the firm, so we have a whole training program. We've got a number of Minnesota and North Dakota clients who are part of this. Probably more so in North Dakota, to be honest. But like the Apex, which is the Duluth area over to Grand Rapids and all, they're members. But we have basically the training videos for economic development staff. We do a different video every Tuesday. Here's just some of our latest. We've got 270 members across the country. Many power companies are members. So Kansas City Power is a member, so they buy this for everybody in that whole territory on the Missouri and the Kansas side. But these are just some examples of some of our shows. We just got asked to do a show on solar farm developments, the pros and the cons. In Kansas City, this is a highly controversial topic. Some areas don't want the solar farm. So anyway, we have a staff training series. So let's say you hire a capable local person, but they've never been in economic development. Then we've got videos that teach them how to do business retention expansion, how to complete RFIs, how to read financial statements and all. We've got elected officials videos. We started this in COVID, and we've done one a week since then. So it looks like a whole lot, but now we've got, literally one a week since COVID. We've got videos in here on grant money. About once a quarter, we do the grant money that's available. So it looks like the last one I did was in June. I go over water grants and sewer grants and so forth that are out there, downtown grants and so forth. So anyway, if you end up going that route, this is very, very affordable, and we literally designed it, for communities that are in your situation. Obviously, we would love to do the search. I'm sure the other firm would too. But if you do end up going this route, then I would ask you all certainly to consider this. It's very, very affordable. It's only $247 a month. And I think we've got like a 95% retention rate out of our 270 members. About the only time we lose a member is if they lose their job. They move on somewhere else and then they don't continue it thereafter. So I would ask you to keep this in mind as well.
Right.
Any other questions?
No, I don't. I think, like you said, it's pretty spelled out, I think.
Yeah.
What we want.
And what was asked, I think they've done a very good job of answering that question, so we all know. So basically, probably can excuse them and talk amongst ourselves.
It's an open meeting. I mean, they don't have to leave or they can stay.
Sure, it's up to them.
Yeah.
But I have literally got you to the airport to fly to Bismarck, so I'm going to leave, and I'll leave Alex and Ellie up here to represent us. But thank you very much. And I've got to get up there twice to Beulah, now and in a month or two. So, I'd love to meet you all if it works out. I know that's not exactly close, but it is pretty close. Anyway,
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions,
Yes.
just on logistics here. So the first one is if we do go with one of the options in the search firm, we have to take this to the city council to ask for the money, correct? Yeah. So then if that's the case,
It's
how
good.
long would it be before we could get the money released and get this started?
So if there's direction today to hire a search firm, we would take that to the council for their approval next Tuesday.
And then the possibility is the council could say no to what we want to do anyway, right?
That's a possibility,
Yes.
certainly.
Okay.
Yep. But that would be, they'd be able to consider that for approval next week, and it'd be actionable the day after. I mean,
Okay.
the next morning, we'd get to work.
Okay. So then my next question would be is currently then on our side of stuff with what we have going on, last time we met, we still had 2 applicants, is that correct? So now we have 1 additional, so that's a total of 3 applicants right now?
Correct.
And
What, 2
supposedly
more?
2 that are interested but yet have not applied, correct?
Yes.
But we only opened that up on Monday?
Last
Tuesday,
Tuesday, we
okay.
advertised that.
Before the 4th.
And then
Before the
So it's
4th,
been-
and then we had a
So it's
holiday.
been 7 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
With a holiday.
Yeah, and not
Yeah.
advertised anywhere,
No.
just on our website. It was just put on our website. A few potential candidates inquired about it, sent us emails or contacted members of our staff, and so we we reposted it on our website and then notified those individuals that it was now posted again and they could submit their application if they chose.
Right.
But it has not, we have not done any other paid advertising in that last week.
Okay.
To kind of add to that, like what Daniel's asking, if I guess if you know who the candidates are and you feel confident in somebody that's applying, I would refer to you, I guess, for the most part. But are we able to ask for council approval for the money and see if they would approve it and still potentially move forward with, if we do get some good candidates, to just go that process and obviously not use that money and hire the firm? I mean, is that a route that we should be considering, just so we're not delaying it, that we, in 2 weeks, we know if the money's there, we know who the candidates have been there, and we know that, okay, here's some candidates, we do or don't feel strongly about it,
Yeah.
but the board has approved the money, so now let's go that route?
Right. I think that's a feasible option for us to consider if that's the group's desire, is to have the council authorize the hire of a firm contingent upon EDA's interview process. You don't have to wordsmith that, but
Because
you
I
could
don't
do
think
it on
we
a
want to delay the
contingency.
process.
Right.
But like Daniel's saying
That's
is,
my biggest concern is delaying the process
Right.
at this point, because we're already gonna have to wait for council approval for a week. So, which.
I mean, if we have
is
somebody-
Just the way that it goes, but, you know, I'm just wondering here, I guess, there's no reason why we can't keep doing what we're doing and still hire a search firm at the same time, correct? Because what we're doing is really not costing us anything currently.
Right.
And then if we hire a search firm, it is gonna cost us.
Right.
So,
that's where I'm kind of going with what you're with on the same timeline too. We don't
Yeah.
want to delay it, but
And then
can
what-
we have it ready to go if we want to?
But once
And
you start outside stuff with it, you know, for the internal stuff, it's like $2,000.
Yeah, we spent about 1,700 on advertising and on our initial ad.
Yes.
And that was to all of the paid local advertising, classifieds type ads. That was the websites like League of Minnesota Cities and Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. The Next Move Group, we advertised on their website. A number of economic development associations. So all of those have some fee to advertise. It was about $1,700 we spent the first go around.
The difference seems to be, if we do it ourselves, we don't have contact to some of the people, and this, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, that the search firms do.
right.
So it's a more passive search, and we may or may not get additional candidates. Now, nobody ever knows that any search firm is going to have even one applicant come through the process. Okay,
Nobody knows not.
nobody knows, but they reach out to a lot more people than we do, or that we have the ways to reach out to. So that's really, it comes down to that. Do you want to, I mean, we've gone through this once. Do we want to take a chance?
And that's why Daniel's
Not
asking.
having-
And that's the exact reason why I'm asking, is
Yeah.
we've already done this once, it didn't work, essentially. And, you know, even if we have two candidates that are interested and they're qualified and want to be here, I don't see a reason to not move forward with one of these two proposals and get this going. Having more candidates only makes the pool larger for us and gives us the best options. Because ultimately, this is the position that is going to be charged with bringing in new businesses, which only helps out our region, helps out our city. It creates tax revenue.
And working with current.
And working with current businesses that we have here right now, I mean, that's huge. I mean, we talk all the time about businesses that want to leave, or that could, well, maybe not want to leave, that's the wrong term, that could leave but choose to stay here. And part of it is the relationship that this board, through the director, has with that business. So,
well, I think a lot of that is the ability for us to be able to find ways to help them. You know, just like with Lumbermart coming here with the tax incentives that we help them with. I mean, all those small things that we have to have somebody knowledgeable and readily available to answer those questions and put that information in front of somebody so they don't look to try cross the river and take advantage of money over there or something. And that's,
and that's what I'm saying is
Yep.
to me, this is an investment in getting the right person
Yep.
for the job for the future. That's
So-
my thinking.
So do you want to make a motion?
So, I want to argue the other side of that a little bit.
Go ahead.
Being a council representative and in the position I've been in all along since I've been on the council, I hate spending money. That's all we do is spend money, it seems like. That's my whole thing on this. That's why I was hoping we could maybe get away with not spending this $20,000 to $24,000. Don't sound like a lot, but when we haven't even got our budget figured out or anything yet, it's a lot of money. And the other side of the coin is if we hire this firm, whichever one it may be, and we get these local candidates that are already filing, and we end up hiring one of them, in my eyes, we just threw that money down the drain.
Right.
That's the thing that bothers me. I think we should give this a little time. You know what? We got, I believe we have time. I know we're trying to get a push on for Paul, but, I mean, geez, we got 2 months or better here to deal with. I think we can, both firms both said, or one did, that they could probably have somebody in front of us in 30 days or so, possibly, you know?
And I talked to
And-
Reed, he said he would step in because he doesn't have enough to do.
And I think that, there's some candidates out there that, and I asked this question the first time, if we advertised it wrong or what we did, because it seems like we should have had more candidates right from the start. So I don't know if we got the word out there far enough. I know that's what these people will do, but I think that, and as Penny said, if we can get somebody that's local, that knows the area, you know, makes a big difference in my book. I know we're trying to get people in to bring business in, but if we get somebody local that knows the area, I think has a better chance of bringing that business in than somebody that's going to come here from New York or Montana or wherever it might be, you know. So I would like to see us maybe, how do I want to say this, maybe just, could we put a deadline on our advertising, our website and whatever, and say, hey, these applications need to be in by this day, instead of carrying that out for another 30 days or something? Put a deadline on that, and let's see where we're sitting. And if we're not happy with what we got, then let's make the move real quick. I would feel good with that. I just don't feel good about spending this money for something that we're really not sure of there either.
I just have one question to that
Yeah.
then. I'm not against it, but so if we did table this and we go the route that we did before, are we looking at spending another $1,700 then to advertise this locally for a couple weeks or what?
Yes,
I guess
possibly.
What are our costs going to be?
Yeah, yes, possibly, yes.
Okay.
I would expect it in that same ballpark to get it out to all the same networks we had it out to initially.
So essentially, we would be looking at spending roughly just under 10% of what we would spend to do the search firm, if we chose to go that route. Okay.
Well, it'd be a total of 34 because it's the 2 times.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
Try
on
not to
board.
count the first one.
Right.
I'm kind of on board with the same thing, that if we've gotten some more interest already, that we give it a little bit of time, but at the same thing, I want to present it to city council for approval. So if we give it a timeline of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, and we don't have anybody where, like you said, we don't have anybody we're confident with, then we can just go ahead and hire the firm if the council approved it. So then we don't have to wait for another meeting and figure it out amongst ourselves who we want to pick and what we want to do, and then bring it to council again, and then be another month out.
I mean, I would be on board with something along those lines, because we're already going to have to wait a week before we can get council approval. So that gives us 7 days already, and it sounds like there are 2 people that are interested that have not applied, and since it was a holiday, gives them opportunity to pull it in. And then what we could probably do would be, we'd have to look at the calendar, but if we can decide on one of these proposals here that we want to take to the council, get them to approve it, then by the time we come around to our next EDA meeting, if we don't have the candidates that we're looking for, we can go ahead and make a decision at that point to move forward with this.
So are you saying we should have a deadline, say, on the Friday before the EDA meeting next time?
Well, and that's kind of,
We meet in
I'm
2
not exactly
weeks.
sure how the deadlines would work so that we can make sure that it's properly done with the state statute. I'm just trying to is that what we're kind of thinking here along these lines? I'm just trying to better understand.
Yeah, no, my concern with going to the council is that if we take it to the council and the council approves it, there's someone, the council, that seem to think that, well, you approved this money to spend it, you should spend it. I mean, they're just not, you know what I'm saying? That's just kind of, you approved this money to hire this firm, so why aren't you hiring this firm to help you do the selection?
It's a catch-22.
Well,
You know,
yeah, I think we just have to
and
make them
it's- and
aware
it's-
of what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to save the money if possible, if we have good candidates, but hey, we might need this and we don't want to drag it out longer. But I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but as long as they understand our approach here.
But at this, if I can interject here, maybe this is a better question for you people to sell it to us, why your firm or firms would be better than how we market.
Well, one thing I did want to point out, but I didn't want to raise my hand and interrupt. If you go down to our proposal on the payment option section, option 1, so it's 3 separate payments, and those essentially are 3 separate kind of contracts. So if you all do end up hiring a local candidate, you would only owe a third of the grand total. So if y'all do want to continue those conversations, you could sign the contract with us, but still only owe that first amount that is post kickoff call. And so just a little insight there to your point that y'all were just discussing. You wouldn't have to pay it all up front. We do the free payment option because we ran into that before where we're doing the search, but someone said he's moving back to town. And they end up, he has experience and exactly what they're looking for, has local ties, and you're not on the hook for the full 20 grand, 25 grand. So I did just want to point that out.
Okay, what did, I missed something here. You said that, you know, if we go the payment, you only pay a third of that, and then,
If you go longer, the second, third, and
The second to the last, if you look at the second to the last page in the packet,
yeah,
up at the top on the proposals there, it kind of outlines.
So we have it
that.
broken down into 3 table installments, basically.
yeah, that's the way it was last time too, but we still have to end up paying the whole $20,000, don't you?
she's
If we-
saying no.
No.
Not if we find somebody
if you
local
would-
that we found. If they find them, then yes.
Oh, I see. If we, okay, I got you. That's what I missed was if, okay, got you.
If breaking down in 3 and at any point, you do not make a continue, you don't know if the other 2 payments are the final payment. However, you make it all the way to the final and you do end up hiring a local candidate that we interview, you would still owe us the 3rd payment. But if you kick off with us and you end up finding somebody on your own, you would not be obligated for the final 2 payments.
If I may try to recap what we've talked about, is that, one, you'd like the council to be able to authorize the possible use of funds for a recruiter, and that could occur next week. 2, we'd like to be able to have a continued process for, like we're doing right now, and resend it out to see if there are any additional candidates. 3, we'd like to be able to decide, maybe by our next EDA meeting, if that has been productive, or if we need to sign an agreement with somebody. Now, if we meet again as an EDA on the 23rd, if you set a deadline for responses of that Friday before, say Friday noon or Friday 2 o'clock, something like that, before the 23rd, calendar, what's that, like the 19th, something like that? I think it's the 19th. Then you can decide which option to move forward with as early as the 23rd if the council has the money available. Have I summarized the way your thoughts are at this point?
I think so.
I think the only thing I would add to that on the timeline, if we're looking at closing an advertisement on July 19th for review at EDA on the 23rd, that's what, 10 or 11 days from now? That, or what's 2 weeks from now, but by the time it's advertised in weekends, 10 or 11 working days. That isn't much time to advertise on any
No, it
professional associations.
I don't
So
know
I
that-
don't know that I would even pay any money to advertise anywhere. I think what I would do is, it's on our website. We use word of mouth to the best of our ability in the community. And we bring whatever we have available for applicants to that meeting that day. So I wouldn't expect any expenditure for advertising between now and then.
Well, I think that's kind of what I was thinking anyways, when I had brought up, the hybrid approach of getting approval and just kind of carrying on where we are. We didn't do any additional advertising, and you already had one applicant and 2 more possibles, where I wasn't even thinking of spending additional dollars to go put it out on all those professional sites again.
Yeah.
If we gave it another, basically gives us about 2 weeks before our next meeting, that's where I wanted to kind of see what are we going to actually get in the next 2 weeks. We've tried advertising on ourselves. If we pay more to do that again, I don't see that that's going to be beneficial at all. I think that we see what comes in, and if council would approve the money and we don't have what we want by the next meeting, and we're ready to go if council does approve it and say, yep, we're hiring this firm then, and we're not that far behind where we are right now then.
And Reed, what we could do is do the North Dakota EDA Association and Edom, Minnesota Association. Use their listserv. It doesn't cost any money.
Great. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have anything else to add, Elijah?
You need your mic.
Whoops.
So I had heard the question was, how to sell ourselves and what can we do that's different than what the city has done. I think just to piggyback off an earlier comment that you made, given the time and the resources that you have, your advertising is done more passively, right? And so that's why you hire an outside firm, because that is what we can do. We do spend a good amount of our time specifically seeking candidates who are local, who have gone to college in the area and have ties to the area, and who are looking for making that next move, whether they're currently looking for a position or not, but at least we're the ones who are able to take the time to make the cold calls and to reach out to them through our various networks and resources.
Thank you.
Do you guys all have any type of a payment option type thing like the next group is offering? If we do have somebody that's very highly qualified that comes to us and wants to interview, and we do end up hiring them rather than going through you guys?
Well, we don't have it spelled out in paper, but if it did come through your work, we would have to charge you for our time that's already involved in producing the advertising materials and any of the advertising websites that we've been on. So, I don't know if that gives you a good enough answer, but yes, we have to bill for our time.
Sure. Okay. Just curious. I know that, like Dale's mentioning here, I think we're going to run into a little bit of hesitancy from our city council with where the city is with budgeting and everything else. So just want to find out what our options are before we take everything forward.
You bet. And then just to piggyback off of that, our all-inclusive fee does include a 2-year guarantee. So if we don't make it through an entire process, then that 2-year guarantee doesn't go along with that.
Okay.
I have a question for you, Dale, if you got a second on this. So if, looking at this, if we ask the council for money, because what I heard earlier is if we don't spend it all, there's going to be some people that are not going to like that fact either. But if we end up finding somebody, we go through this with either one of the companies, it sounds like we may not spend all of this money anyway if we did that local one. Are we going to get some issues coming from the council on saving money in that case?
No, maybe not, but I guess the way I phrased it probably wasn't exactly. It's just the council, how do I want to say this?
Basically what I think the way I took it, Stumpy, is that if it gets approved and then we didn't need to spend that money, and then, why did it cost this much? Is where you're going with it.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of one of those things that, I don't know what the best way is to explain it.
Yeah,
Yes,
but I know what you're trying to
I
say.
just know that if you go to ask the council for something and the council has to act on it, I don't want to say it.
They expect you to use
They
it.
take it pretty serious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They expect you to use
So-
it. I think that's what you're getting at, right?
Yeah, they expect you to use it, and if you don't use it, I mean, don't get me wrong, it can go right back. They can just leave it right in the account. That's not the issue. It's not
Right.
like that. If we don't spend it, we'll take it and put it in the EDA account because that won't happen.
Right.
You know, but
But next time they might not be as open.
yeah, and I don't know.
I think I'm hoping they're looking at it from the standpoint that we are trying to not spend the money. I think there is going to be some hesitancy on people willing to approve it and wanting to spend the money. So I think we're trying to put forth that effort of showing that we're trying to save the money if possible. But I think a lot of us think one of these routes is possibly the best route to go with one of these firms. So we may need it and we don't want to push it back further, is what we want the council to understand.
I think that's the key to it, Justin. I agree. And what I'm hearing is that that's the process. We talked about July 23rd is the next EDA meeting. Paul laid out kind of the steps nicely on we have it advertised on our website. Let's leave it advertised there. The sources we can advertise it for free through professional associations and listservs. We will between now and then. The council, I would probably not even select a specific firm today to bring to council. What I would suggest is that we have a not to exceed dollar amount contingent upon EDA's decision to select a search firm. And that would be, the not to exceed dollar amount would be at the high end of the proposals that are in front of us today.
Yeah.
That would, I think, make really clear to the council what your desires are as an EDA board, and let them authorize the expenditure up to that amount, knowing that the desire is not to spend that amount if we don't need to.
Right.
Yeah. I think we can frame that clearly for the council to understand
Yes.
what we're asking of them.
And I like that idea.
Yeah.
My question would be on that though, is if we're gonna ask for an amount up to, I mean, these are the base proposals here, but then we also have to pay the travel costs for the candidates to come here. Do we need to include that kind of in our mind of how much money we're asking for?
I would say yes.
Okay, because we don't want to have to go back later and say,
Exactly.
now we got these candidates, we'd like to fly. I'm just trying to make sure that we do our asphalt at one time here. So,
It's a good idea.
and I guess with that, I guess for me, I don't know exactly what we should budget for that, and I'd be open to
Yeah.
ideas from anybody, or even from our guests here, because they probably have more experience than I know
I think what I would ask, if I could take the time to get together with Terry Knudsen, our human resources generalist. We have basically, when we've had council, city administrator searches, we've had the council authorize a certain dollar amount per candidate. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, but I can consult with Terry on that and have that be included in the council agenda if that's the direction you guys are looking for.
I can tell you what happened when I was hired, is the first part was done online, and then over the Christmas holidays, I was brought in. We had, I think there were 2 or 3 people who were brought in as finalists over the Christmas holidays, and flew in then and went away, in for a short time. So it was only the one trip in for the candidates.
Well, and I hate to be a pessimist about that, but how many of them use that just for a free trip too? Sorry.
There are some who do.
I mean, I'm sure we're a huge travel destination. Like the Bahamas, I mean,
The
Hey,
later you go in the year,
be
the closer you can
surprised.
have to winter,
Everybody comes in to
surprised.
see Crystal Sugar, don't they?
of course.
There's also with
what-
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, Mr. Larson, are you on?
Yeah, Neil.
Yeah, you've been pretty quiet up there. You have anything you want to add? That's not like you.
No, I've been listening here, and I apologize for joining late. No, I think there's been good discussion that's kind of evolved throughout the hour here, and I think we've got a little bit of time here to consider the internal candidates, but we don't want to drag our heels on what seems like a very possible next step as well. So I'm comfortable with the direction that this is heading down.
Okay, thanks.
So My question to you, Reed, is would you want to bring any applications to the whole group on the 23rd? Or would you rather do it with the group that worked on the job description, the change in the job description on that Monday to try to facilitate things?
Yeah. I was thinking of that too. I thought the initial step would be if we have sort of the interview committee that Josh, you had asked to form, that we would, if we're going to close applicants Friday, let's say, that Monday we would get that group together to review those, and then you'd be able to, we wouldn't be able to interview them before the 23rd, but at the very least that group could come to the full EDA board and have a strong sense of whether we should schedule interviews or we should continue advertising.
Well, whether we have any paper candidates who are within the parameters that you have created for the position.
So back to the initial, do we have a motion and
I don't think we need one. We're just postponing action.
Do we need a motion to bring it to council?
that's,
Well, and that's kind of why I was asking the question I was on dollar.
And that's
amounts.
why
Or is that just a request of Reed to take it to the council to do that without a motion?
I was
Do you need a
thinking
motion,
probably
Reed?
$1,000 a candidate.
Yeah. Terry's on, but I don't know if she's listening closely.
Yeah.
I think-
And I mean, if we can get it from that, that's fine. I just figured we had two other people that, in the room that do this for a living, so I figured we could ask them what their thoughts were on what we, travel costs and how many candidates and everything else.
I think we should stick to that 19th too, if we have a couple other ones that are interested, they know, so there's no reason they shouldn't be getting in here this week or the first part of next week to, or whatever, however the application thing goes, I don't know, but there's no reason that those other couple out there possibly that's interested should have to take any longer than the 19th, and if there's more, that's okay too, but I think that's where we're shooting for right now, I think, is those probably, I'll say 5 candidates again, is what it would turn out to be, correct?
People often wait till the end of the time period to apply.
Yeah, well,
So-
if they don't, then
Shorter
I
they
guess
apply.
that's too bad, then we'll have to make our next move, as
that's
Mr.
out of our
Larson said.
control.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and as far as like a budget goes, like the next move group is $20,750, but you could, if you paid the whole thing in full, it's like 7% cheaper. But if we're looking at possibly finding a local person, we would want to pay the higher amount, right, for our budget. We would want to go for the $20,750 plus the travel, like 5,000, so we're looking at 26,000
No, like Reed said, we would actually ask for approval on the higher amount.
On the
between
higher
two
ends.
firms, which is, the DDA was 24,000.
24 plus travel?
Right.
Okay.
Because like he said, I don't think we should pick right now, right here.
Correct.
I think we find out if we get approval, and then that gives us time to each individually review a little bit what we've got here, and then make a
So the
decision.
higher end of anything? Okay.
And I would agree that we shouldn't make a decision here on which one we're going to go with, just because we now have 2 proposals that are the same. Before, we were considering a proposal that was a little bit different. So this is more apples to apples, so
Yep.
I would be okay with not choosing a firm, but I do think that we need
We
to
need a
figure
dollar
out how,
amount.
a dollar amount that we take to the council next Tuesday.
Reed, do you want a motion from the EDA requesting that they set aside funds to use a recruiter, if necessary, for a sum up to whatever amount you and Terry decide?
Yeah, I would appreciate a motion to,
This is Ron Galsett, city attorney. I would ask for a motion that would
Thank you.
basically outline that.
Especially with that amount of
as
money.
indicated, and we could just go with a general request to the city council if in fact that was the route that the ED would go.
Yes.
You could say even 30,000 because you know you aren't going to use that much at this meeting. I mean,
yeah. I think the way Ron indicated it.
Personally, I don't think that you have to limit it to how much
Okay.
the cost of the travel is going to be. That kind of goes right along hand in hand with what you're handling and what Reed just said. I would just ask for the top end of an amount, and then later on, we could be asking for candidate expenses.
Sure.
so you're saying all we really want to do is just get their approval behind us right now? Right?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So since Ron was suggesting what you said, Reed, do you want to write it down and send it to me? And I will make sure that it gets put into the minutes that way. Does everybody understand what Reed was saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Then we probably, if I may, we probably need a motion to do that,
Yeah.
don't we?
Yes.
I'll make the motion to ask city council for funds up to 24,000 should we need them after our local search process.
Yeah, I'll second.
Motion by Hecht, second by Stai.
Please call roll, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir. Grinde,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Hecht,
Yes.
Helms,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes,
Stai.
Yes.
And Ben, are you on?
I am, yes,
Ben?
yes.
Right.
I didn't realize Ben was still on there. Ben,
I
are
see
you,
him at
you
the
have
bottom,
anything you want to
right.
say?
No, he said he's good.
Okay. Is that right?
Yes, he said he's good. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Motion to adjourn.
Just, I'd like to thank both of the recruiting agencies for showing up. Just, I do appreciate that, to ask those questions. It really helps us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks all.
Welcome. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
All in
Motion,
favor?
wait, motion by Black, second by Hecht.
Hecht. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?